Sydney Sweeney is selling a limited edition soap made with her own bath water. Fans always joke about wanting my bath water. I was like, this is just such a cool way to give them what they want. I paved the road. Sydney's bath water bliss. You just walk down it. Sydney, call us. We've got an idea. You kept asking about Sydney Sweeney's bath water after we released our commercial, so we kept it. Introducing Sydney's bath water bliss, a very real limited edition soap made with Sydney's actual bath water. Yeah, I'd have that look on my face too. Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell on the set of Anyone But You, 2023. New Spider-Man Universe movie trailer. Cool concept, but seems like a fan film and Marvel Cinematic Universe girls night. Madam Web, official trailer, 2024. Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney. Sydney Sweeney getting into the ring to portray trailblazing boxer Christy Martin for director David Mitchell. Bulk Bear and anonymous content. Actress is itching to start training for all Cannes Market Heat project. We eating good boys. Dude, imagine getting punched in the face repeatedly by Sydney Sweeney. Sydney Sweeney to join the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Felicia Hardy or Bulk Cat. Sydney Sweeney reveals in an interview that she's a huge proponent of Microsoft Excel for data science. Not everybody is going to learn to code, and we need to respect that. She added, Excel meets the people where they are, and I think that's beautiful. Maybe people don't find dumpy liberal butches like yourself attractive? Sydney Sweeney, left, was criticized by producer Carol Baum. The producer said that she'd recently watched Anyone But You, the popular film starring Sweeney, on a plane, explaining, I wanted to know who she is and why everybody's talking about her. I watched this unwatchable movie. Sorry to people who love this movie, this romantic comedy where they hate each other. Baum, who also works as a professor at USC, continued, I said to my class, explain this girl to me. She's not pretty, she can't act. Why is she so heat? Sydney Sweeney reveals in an interview that she's a huge proponent of the adjusted EBITDA metric. Sometimes companies have unexpected expenses, and you gotta show investors that it's, like, not recurring. She added, adjusted EBITDA brings out the best in companies, and that's beautiful. Sydney Sweeney recently revealed in an interview that she's extremely worried about the evolving information environment. We really are living in a cognitive Wild West. Most people have near zero mimetic defenses or cognitive security suited for the online age. She adds, any semblance of it is easily brute forced by the onslaught of information, and the situation is even worse when it comes to intentional psyops. Sydney Sweeney called out for families' MAGA-inspired hats. Kinda funny how Sydney Sweeney carefully curated her IG post so that none of the MAGA-inspired hats were seen, and then her dim-witted brother's post blew it all up. Shamik Moore and Sydney Sweeney have been cast in Silver Star. The film follows a Civil War-ian actor who, during a botched bank robbery, takes an impulsive pregnant 19-year-old as his hostage, and together, they embark on a road trip across America. This sounds fun. Sydney Sweeney is selling soap that contains her actual bath water. The 27-year-old Euphoria actor announced the new limited edition body wash, made with a touch of her bath water, on Thursday. It's crazy how perfect we are for each other, aha. Sydney Sweeney says she loved playing Simpsons Hit and Run when growing up with her brother. I wish all unmarried men are very pleasant to the hell as Sydney Sweeney. Sydney Sweeney jokes that you may have seen me in Anyone But You or Euphoria, but you definitely did not see me in Madam Web. If Billie Eilish and Sydney Sweeney shared an apartment, if I won the lottery, I wouldn't tell anyone, but there would be signs. Man removed from Madam Web screening for master betting to Sydney Sweeney Julia Carpenter Spider-Woman. So, if you just quiet down, I'd be happy to treat you to a Euphoria box set. This must be like night 11 for chicks who aren't white and brown. Sweeney is a godsend for those of us that actually like slender brunettes with Anglo or French features. Bro, tell me why I can't get my son to just be still for any show. But we are watching the Sydney Sweeney Heat 1's episode, and this boy's locked in. Heat ones with Sydney Sweeney, except instead of Shan Evans, it's me, and instead of eating wings, it's having sex with me. I enjoyed it daily as a kid, but I eat more responsibly now and only have it as an occasional treat. Sydney Sweeney, on windshield wiper fluid. Sydney Sweeney got bit by a huntsman spider whilst filming Anyone But You. Because if there's one thing lesbians hate, it's eat women with big babs. Sydney Sweeney at the GLAAD Media Awards. Liberals have lost control of even the gooeyest institutions. Sydney Sweeney making soap bars infused with actual droplets of her bath water. You won't get anything done hoeing like that. Sydney Sweeney launches soap made with her used bath water. At the height of Kiss Mania in the 70s, Marvel published Kiss comic books. They claimed that the red ink was mixed with a drop of blood from each of the band members. Same gimmick today. Mom is sorry mommies. I promise I will be a good boy. Ain't no ducking way this is the school that rejected me. Sydney Sweeney has been cast in a live-action split fiction movie. John M. Chu is set to direct with Red Rees and Paul Wernick writing the script. How caffeine and nicotine look at me as soon as I wake up. The system of private property is the most important guarantee of freedom, not only for those who own property, but scarcely less for those who do not. FAAEG. Sydney Sweeney goes shirtless after slamming body shamers. Ha 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 ha, alright. How I look at her after she gets my weird reference. Daniel Brühl during the photo shoot. I'm the luckiest man alive. Me fantasizing about the day I'll be able to afford handing in my resignation and cursing everyone at work. Ron Howard's Eden has received an R rating due to strong violence, sexual content, graphic nudity and language. The film stars Ana de Armas, Vanessa Kirby, and Sydney Sweeney. When she is your girlfriend. When she becomes your ex. When men pretend to be women. When kids pretend to be Indians on Halloween. The look she gives you when you successfully hijack the bar touch tunes with Limp Bizkit. Me, miracles are not real. Miracle. Ana de Armas says new movie with Sydney Sweeney has there some relationship. How my date looks at me when I tell her I'm studying data science. There is no date, and I'm going to end up all alone. All I have left is data science. Sydney Sweeney being considered for bulk cat role in Spider-Man 4. Me cooling my girlfriend off with my nut helicopter. When she is not your girlfriend. When she becomes your girlfriend. For some reason, most of my fans are men. How the frosty tooth looks at me after I asked how much for a hug. I was Sydney Sweeney's dietitian for 5 years. This is how I helped her get her dream role with 5 easy food swaps. She wouldn't stop talking about the last one. I don't know you, and Kraft mac and cheese is for life. She's not pretty, she can't act. Why is she so heat? Hollywood producer Carol Baum went after Sydney Sweeney in recent interview. Science, don't stare directly at the eclipse. The eclipse. How she looks at me after I finish my 10th beer and start doing my Borat impression. Is this serious? I'm as anti-woke as the next heterodox person here, but I can't help but think this is a little reaching. Yes, Sydney Sweeney's babs are anti-woke. Leftists are now trying to pretend they never had a problem with women's bodies. Sydney Sweeney, when asked why Madam Web bombed. Is there a reason for that? It's so hard to get movies made, and in these big movies that get made, and it's even starting to happen with the little ones, which is what's really freaking me out. Decisions are being made by committees, and art does not do well when it's made by committee. Films are made by a filmmaker and a team of artists around them. You cannot make art based on numbers and algorithms. My feeling has been for a long time that audiences are extremely smart, and executives have started to believe that they're not. Audiences will always be able to sniff out bullshit. Even if films start to be made with AI, humans aren't going to ducking want to see those. Carefully, she's a hero. Sydney Sweeney or June 2. The US consciousness. A man lighting himself on fire in protest of war. Man removed from Madam Web screening for masturbating to Sydney Sweeney Julia Carpenter Spider-Woman. Oh, he might be me. How women look at me after leaking US military documents on War Thunder. How Steve Buscemi pulled Sydney Sweeney is beyond me. How did Steve Buscemi pull Sydney Sweeney? You have been bulked by Gemini AI. You can no longer use Gemini AI or its features. When you tell her you're always anxious and have a severe disdain of the federal government. How my date looks at me when I show her I can play Doom on my microwave. How my date looks at me after watching me beat Halo 3 on Legendary with a Guitar Hero guitar. Average Marvel Cinematic Universe hater watching Madam Web. For 2 years, we've mobbed. Now prepare yourselves because it's webbing time. When you see tights with the perfect amount of natural hang. Episode of Scene Thought. George Costanza, fat, short, bald, unemployed, and lives with his parents. His date. When you tell them you're unemployed with 4 baby mamas and you don't have a car. Bowser seeing Princess Peach for the first time. Zendaya stands. Tell me the truth. I'm ready to hear it. People only watch Euphoria for Sydney Sweeney's fat ducking tights. Zendaya stands. Me after taking 20 selfies and realizing that the problem is not the camera. POV. After I finally get me periods. I have never ever been happier. This touchdown's for you. Jesus. Sydney Sweeney. How was the weekend? Hope you're feeling refreshed. Me. How my girlfriend looks at me when I share with her the lore of my Minecraft world. Neuron activation. The look she gives you when you do your macho man impression. How she looks at you when you book a vacation with Brian at Time Zoneless Travels. Visiting my boyfriend's place. Visiting my boyfriend's place, but his dad will be there. My wife hearing me sing Pearl Jam in the shower while we get ready for dinner with her parents. How I look at the Third Amendment, knowing it protects my living room from unconstitutional quartering from soldiers. Anna de Armas says new movie with Sydney Sweeney has a crazy there's some. I will love it, and I think I deserve it. Tina Satter's thriller reality, starring Sydney Sweeney, was filmed in just 16 days. The film holds a Rotten Tomatoes score of 97%. POV. In the future, when me and my wife are getting ready to go out, I'm having a shower practicing my Borat impression. I love when my guy friends like Sydney Sweeney's Instagram posts. Go get M-King. The former White Lotus star recently made an appearance in a Rolling Stones music video and hit back at the critics of her racy look in the clip by reminding them that she has found empowerment in learning to embrace her body for what it is. My name is George. I'm unemployed and I live with my parents. I'm Sydney. Hi. Powerlifters 2 weeks out from a meet. Everything hurts, but they get to compete soon. I have never ever been happier. Your girl watching you guzzle 12 beers and argue with strangers about sports. Thank you for giving my booty some love, for once. It's always my babs. Sydney Sweeney confirms she will star in Madam Web. I just dreamt of being able to be a part of something bigger than life itself. And that's what I feel like I'm getting to be a part of with Madam Web. Is this a big movie? If so, what is this even going to be about? Sydney Sweeney reveals that her dad and granddad walked out of room after watching her in S-rated role. My dad and my grandpa turned it off and walked out. I didn't prepare him at all. Sydney Sweeney thirst trap. Dakota Johnson now single. Great day for my delusions. Sydney Sweeney reveals in an interview that she's a huge proponent of Python for HFT trading. Not everybody is going to learn C++ and we need to respect that. She added, Python meets the people where they are, and I think that's beautiful. P.S. It's a meme. At 10 MC, 10% of the supply will be burnt. Sweeney to the moon, Queen of Soul baby. Giving away $10,000 worth of Sweeney RT to enter. Going live on Spaces soon. Stay tuned to see what Sweeney can do. Actor Sydney Sweeney reveals in a new interview that her favorite NFL player is Minkah Fitzpatrick of the Steelers. I love watching Minkah play. I believe he's one of the best players in the NFL. He completely made me a Steelers fan. Babe, I love you, not the money. Me. Okay, now sign this prenup. Which team are you on? Team Amos or Team Sweeney? My girlfriend listening to me work on my Tony Soprano impression in the shower before we head out to dinner with her friends. Imagine fading Sweeney, 10MC coming. Don't cheat. At 10MC, 10% of the supply will be burnt. At 10MC, 20% of the supply will be burnt. POV, when you are arguing with that one quiet anime kid school. Sydney Sweeney and Billie Eilish lined up. Pick could kill someone who is lactose intolerant. Your dead scene cells and natural moisturizing factors hearing you unscrew the cap of the P50 bottle. Glenn Powell, I wanna breathe your nether regions. I have. She had to put her face dangerously close to my nether regions for a spider scene. Sydney Sweeney, you have breathed the air that no one else has breathed. Happy birthday Sydney Sweeney. Cheers to you and all the amazing things you do. Right guys, see Babs and say, one ticket to Donneville please. You, sir, have won the internet for today. I have your address. Sydney Sweeney says she wouldn't be able to afford a 6-month break from acting. I don't have income to cover that. I don't have someone supporting me. They don't pay actors like they used to, and with streamers, you no longer get residuals. My girlfriend listening to me practice my Brian Butterfield impression in the shower before we head out to have dinner with her friends. I said to my class, explain this girl to me. She's not pretty, she can't act. Why is she so heat? Sydney Sweeney reveals in an interview that she's a big proponent of taxing the rich. I think rich people who don't agree just don't want to grind and would prefer to play life on easy mode. She adds, skill issue to be honest. Dean Hopkins' comment on Sydney Sweeney's new Instagram post has me dying. You can't blame him though. Math word problems be like, if Bob eats 96 watermelons and my favorite number in the alphabet is purple, then how many watermelons will fit in the toilet? Genuinely so excited for this movie. It looks like so much fun. Sydney Sweeney launches limited edition soap made of her actual bath water. Me and my boys as soon as possible. Sydney Sweeney when she finds out most people can't afford to be unemployed for 6 months. Madam Web is so bad that it's actually getting people to the theater and becoming a successful cult classic. You don't look happy to watch the Carolina Panthers this year. I have never ever been happier. When you're in the hospital thinking you just have a cold and Sydney Sweeney dressed as Cortana from Halo 4 walks in. Sydney Sweeney is being considered for the role of Bulk Cat in Spider-Man 4. The resemblance is uncanny. Sydney Sweeney reveals in an interview to Vogue that she has a bowl of ice cream before bed every night. I really enjoy ice cream. I feel like it keeps me from waking up. It's just so comforting. Moms, I'm going to tell Sydney Sweeney that you aren't eating any of your vegetables, young man. 25 to 35-year-old men right now. Sydney Sweeney is mother. Do you know what that means? I don't know what that means. What does it mean? Like, love someone. Like, Taylor Swift is mom. Beyonce is always mothering. You want someone who finishes strong and can go all the way. You want someone who knows every position. You want someone who everyone can get behind. You want someone who produces results. I know who. More reports are out that Sydney Sweeney's character in Madam Web is Julia Carpenter, which I think was reported before too, and I'd believe it. They even gave her Julia's hair color for the movie. The confusing bit is that all the set photos I've seen have got Dakota Johnson's character in almost the exact same red coat that Julia has worn since she became the newest Madam Web in comics, and we know that Dakota is the lead of the film, which of course is called Madam Web. Hopefully they've got something cool planned, and this isn't just Sony jumbling things up because they feel like it, lol. An alien race with big alien honkers. Sydney Sweeney met with Lucasfilm recently. Which character would you like to see her portray in the Star Wars universe? Sydney Sweeney reveals in an interview that she's in believer of Gonz's innocence. Gonzo did not break Thagompata, and we need to respect that. She added, Gonz's behavior's report is 100% good, and I think that's beautiful, and also it is true. Twitter attacking Sydney Sweeney. People defending her because they like her tights. My wife getting ready for our dinner with her parents as I perfect my Arnold Schwarzenegger impressions. Sydney Sweeney launches limited edition soap made with her actual bath water. Duck Sydney Sweeney. Me and the boys are waiting for this bath water soap. Sydney Sweeney really said this on SNL. You definitely did not see me in Madam Web. She got Sony with this one. Which shows Are You Mad were not renewed for a second season. Everything Snacks, 2018. Sydney Sweeney. The Society, 2019. Christine Froseth. I'm Not Okay With This, 2020. Sophia Lillis. High Fidelity, 2019. Zoe Kravitz.